What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We have got a college football show for you today, and we've got a great one. A lot of good games to talk about, a lot of stuff coming up this week to talk about. And not only that, but another debut of a brand new segment. In NFL, we had Ryan's rankings. Today in college, we got Sam's standings. So that'll be great to debut for you guys. Make sure you let us know how you like it as always. Welcome back. This is Hold Down the Fort. Before we get into this, like, subscribe, comment what you want to see more of. As always, thank you, Ryan, for being back for another video. And let's get straight into this because, boy, we got a loaded slate today. Kicking off the college football weekend, this was going to be, in my opinion, it was supposed to be a great game. Ended up being a total demolition job as number 3 Texas just demolishes Kansas, who was ranked number 24, but probably not for much longer. Uh, Number 24 Kansas 40-14. Quinn Ewers having a great 325 yards to go along with 1 touchdown. Ryan, are the Longhorns the best team in the country right now?
I mean they're not ranked the best team in the country, but with their schedule, I believe so far they should be one. But obviously, you're not going to dethrone Georgia since they've won back to back.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Does
I
the eye
think
test tell you they're number one?
I test number one.
Yeah.
They won in Bama. Like I mean,
And
that's hard
not
to
many
do.
teams can say that they do that on a yearly basis.
Yeah. So
I mean, I agree. And look, actually, one of the most impressive parts of this game to me was that they put up 40 points and Quinn Ewers had just 1 touchdown. So I mean, that's a lot of rushing. It's a lot of defense. I know Jalen Wilson for was or no, sorry, not Jalen Wilson. That's the basketball player. Jalen Daniels for Kansas was not playing the whole game. They had Bean in there. I mean, look, I mean, it's just this Texas is on a totally different level in the Big 12. This was not the game that we thought it was going to be. It ended up just being a total demolition job. You know, Quinn comes through. Adonai Mitchell had a great game. They have so many weapons. They got Weaver up front on both sides of that line. They are just a totally like different team. They're up here. We saw them rush forward against Bama and get home. They didn't even have to bring everybody on the blitz. I mean, this is a team that's on a different level right now. This is not your Texas from last year, years before. They've got a top something quarterback in the country. We'll talk about that in a sec. You've got great weapons. You found your running back to replace Bijan Robinson. These recruits are developing, and as always, you're bringing in new recruits every year. Sark is developing as a coach. This Texas team looks great, and that brings me to another question that I have. Ryan, after from what you've seen from this Texas team and from what you've seen from Quinn Ewers this year and when he played last year, is this guy a top 5 quarterback in the country right now? Like with all things considered?
I mean, I guess you have to give it to him since his team eye test is number one.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's just so many good quarterbacks right now in college football.
If you had to give me 5 that you'd say is in your, even if it's not in order, just like the 5 guys you look at and you're like, these are the top tier level of quarterbacks in college football, who would that be for you?
All right, well, Caleb Williams number one.
Yeah, I think we don't need to really
And
debate
then
who's number one.
ranking after that, I don't want to rank like 2 through 5. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say 4 names:
Yeah, just tell me like
uh,
who you think would be in it.
Penix, Shador, Bo
You
Nix.
have Fedor in that arena with them?
He has the potential. Same with like that's the only reason Anthony Richardson went high in the draft.
That's true. That's true.
It's the potential, NFL, and then fifth. I mean, you could say Jaden Daniels. You could say Carson Beck. You could say I
I would
mean,
not put Carson back
Sam
anywhere
Hartman, I
near there.
can't discredit him.
Hartman's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hartman's good.
probably Hartman.
I don't know because I feel like if I had to throw out 5 right now, we both know Caleb's one. That's non-negotiable. I'm not. You're right. Like you said, I'm not even gonna rank
Penix
them.
has to be a lock also.
100%. I'm not even gonna rank mine 2 through 5, but I'll say Drake May. I'll say Michael Penix. I mean that's 3, and then after that, it's like there's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
I like Hartman. I like Bo Nix. Shador's good. The Pac-12 is obviously a quarterback machine. So I mean, if you want to put Shador in that conversation, I can't really hold you. I mean, me personally, I'm a Jordan Travis guy. Might be a little biased in there, but
That's what I'm saying. There's so many good quarterbacks right now in college
you're right. There,
football.
I mean, there's a ton really, and it's crazy. JJ
Other
McCarthy has to
years,
be in
it's
the
not usually
conversation.
like this.
No, this has been a great year, but I mean, look, yeah, I think Quinn has to be in
I
the
don't know if he's
conversation.
top five when you stack it up that way.
Yeah, I think he might be better than. It's tough, man. It really is. Like, is he better than Bo Nix? I don't. I think Drake May, Michael Penix, and Caleb Williams are like the solidified guys, and then everyone else is debatable, right? Quinn, Bo Nix, Shador, Cam Ward at Washington State. JJ McCarthy, Jordan Travis, all these guys are like debatables.
Yeah,
So I don't know. That's a tough one. But this weekend, and we'll talk about this later, Texas, Oklahoma will be a great time to see if Quinn Ewers has that top five material.
100%.
Yeah, and
Can he keep doing it? Can
yeah,
they
exactly.
keep?
Can he sustain this? And we just talked about sustaining this, and we talked about Caleb Williams, number 8 USC, absolutely like squeaking by the the skin of their fingernails, skimming by like a Colorado team that me and you have just been so skeptical of, and that's really it's not the best look. I'll be honest, because as much hype as Colorado gets, we realize that they're not in the top echelon of teams like USC is supposed to be, right? Like we can all acknowledge that. Even the Colorado lovers, we can admit they're not a top 10 team right now. USC is rated as a top 10 team right now, meaning you should be beating the brakes off of teams like this when you have Caleb Williams, you have Zachariah Branch, you have Lincoln Riley as your head coach. You have all these weapons on the offense. You have this weapon of a coach, and you have this, beyond a nuclear missile for a quarterback, and you're beating them by a touchdown, and you're making us wonder whether you're going to get upset. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Alex Grinch is getting exposed more and more every game on the defensive side of the ball. This defense looks worse than they did last year, right? Like, this is not an improvement on the defense. And, Ryan, this is why I have to ask you after we both watch this game, because we both do pay attention to Colorado for better or worse. Can USC compete for a national title? Like, are they even capable of competing for a national title looking like this?
I mean, they can, but I don't know if they'll make it that far. Every year they always drop. Very similar to Texas, they always drop a game they shouldn't, and that's what does them in. I mean, I was shocked that it was that close with Colorado,
Me
especially
too.
the way
And
they
they were
started.
beating them so bad for a
That's what I'm
while.
saying. They just took their foot off the gas.
They did, yeah. It felt like poor clock management. It just felt like everything was going wrong, and it's like they were so dead set on playing such a fast style of offense with so
Yep.
little time left. You have the best player in college football by a mile. Just let him make the decisions. Let him run this clock out. And I mean, with a defense as horrible as USC's, you just stop giving them possessions. Drain the clock, and they just seem like reluctant to do so.
Yeah, I don't know. They should have won by way more than they did, but
It's the secondary too, because I look at the front seven and I feel like they've got enough going on there to where it shouldn't be an issue, right? With Colorado's line, and I mean, look, hey, at the end of the day, when we look at the tip top of the Pac-12, and we've got Washington, um, Oregon, and USC. We got these three teams, and then we can talk about like the Utahs and the Washington States, the Oregon States that are right under. But these are the three best teams in all of our eyes. How are you supposed to compete with a team like Oregon when we saw what their defense did to Colorado? We've seen what that is capable of, and yours is just giving up points not to mention last week where they were in the dogfight with Arizona State. It feels like it's a trend.
yeah, Arizona State's a joke. So
CBS rated them in the bottom 25, and you took them to the end of the fourth quarter.
yeah, no, in the third quarter the game was within a score.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally, in this state, like I know you have Caleb Williams, but the way they look right now, I can't see this team possibly competing for a national title.
We'll see, but they do have Caleb Williams, so
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah.
I know they play Notre Dame. I mean, look, they should be on. I don't know how much of an upset it would be, but they should be on upset alert right now for when they play Notre Dame, because that is a good team. That will hurt you.
Yeah, and that's next, not this week, next week.
Is it that soon? I mean, that's good. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, hey, they still who did they play this week? USC. Let me look. They play. I mean, they play at home against Arizona. Arizona's
That's gonna be.
terrible.
I
That
mean,
should be
look,
another blowout.
we say it should be another blowout, but let's be careful because Arizona did just take Washington to a very close game. They made that a really interesting game, so I'm not going to write them off just yet. But you're right, they should win handedly. It is
Yeah,
definitely a talent difference, but I wouldn't be too surprised if Arizona finds a way to keep it close.
USC's schedule is brutal.
Who do they play
Um,
rest of the way? Do you have it?
yeah, at number 10 Notre Dame in 2 weeks, and
At
then
Notre Dame is
and then
tough.
Utah comes into town, and
Cam
then
Rising should be back for that.
yeah, I'm not even gonna say the unranked games. Just
Hmm.
then you play number 7 Washington at the end of the season. The next week you play number 8 Oregon in Oregon.
Wow, and that's not even counting the Pac-12 championship game if they
So
make
right
it.
now they have 3 top 10 teams remaining, a top 18 team, and 2 regular teams.
Who's the top 18 one? That's
Utah.
Oh, right. I forgot they got dropped pretty far.
But Notre Dame 10, Washington 7, at Oregon 8.
And remember, Utah is no joke. They are doing what
Yeah,
they've
that's
done
what I'm
this
saying.
year.
Utah, even though they're 18, they're still balling.
But they're 18. They've done everything they've done this year with their third string quarterback. We have to remember that. Like this is still a really good team, a really good defense, who was 2-0 against Caleb Williams last year. So, wow. I mean, I actually did not know their full schedule until you just told me that.
It's stacked. So if
That is
they
a stacked
somehow win
schedule.
out, they deserve it. But
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
think they're
yeah.
winning.
100%. I mean, look, the Pac-12, that's just how it's going to be. In its last year of existence, the Pac-12 is making it known that we are a legit conference. Me and Michael debate this all the time. I think in 2023, they're the best conference, and it's going to be a gauntlet. So whoever comes out of there, especially undefeated,
We'll get
deserves
a
to be in that
lot.
playoffs and should be the number one seed overall, in my opinion. But we just talk about all the rankings, and of course the AP poll is out. But before we take a look at the AP poll, we're gonna debut our new segment called Sam's Standings. For those of you who tuned into our NFL video that came out the other day, you saw we debuted Ryan's rankings. That's gonna be our NFL model of rankings throughout the week. Where we see where we disagree with all the major media sites. I'm gonna go against the AP poll, and I'm gonna present my Sam's standings. Ryan obviously has not seen them. He's going to tell me what they think, and they're going to be debuted live on the air. So no one has seen them except me. And I'm going to show my picks. He's going to tell me what you think. You guys let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you don't agree with. But without further ado, I mean, let's get straight into this debut of our new segment. As you can see, we got Sam's standings. So at number 10, drum roll please, I'm going to go with USC, the team that we just talked about. Like I already said, I don't want to beat a dead horse. The defense is horrible. Alex Grinch is definitely on the hot seat. Lincoln Riley is getting eyes his way, I'm sure, for not being able to build a defense after all these years. We just talked about their schedule. I don't think they can compete in that type of schedule with this defense. We'll see, though. I mean, obviously, if you have Caleb, you're in any game, but that's just my opinion. At number 9, Notre Dame, the team that they face off with soon. I think they're ranked at 10 and 9, like respectively, in the actual AP poll. So these two teams are just flipped. I like Notre Dame's defense. I love Sam Hartman. I love Estime. You got a good win against a really good Duke team who I was really high on. I mean, you got it all shaping out for you. Your only loss, even though you do have a loss, it's a close loss to Ohio State, who's of course on this list. So it's a very respectable. It was a game winner. You lost by 3. Your defense has looked really good. It's Notre Dame. I think you're very well still in playoff contention if you win out. At number 8, Penn State. And I might get a little flack for this one, but I think it's solely based off the schedule. When I do these rankings, I'm doing it off of eye test, I'm doing it off of resume, and a little bit off numbers and roster. So when I just look at Penn State, like the roster is there, the eye test is, for the most part there, but it's also the resumes where you're lacking, right? You haven't really beat anybody yet. Of course, we know you demolished Iowa, and that was a great win, but they might be getting exposed a little bit now.
Yeah.
Um, so
No,
I
but
think
they've been playing anyone crazy compared to
yeah.
some
So
of the
we'll
teams.
see them play Ohio State soon, though. Yeah, and that'll be a telling game because I'm not the highest on Ohio State, but they do have a good win, which is why they're ranked ahead of Penn State. They are ranked at 7, Ohio State. You got the win over Notre Dame. That's a great win. It was a kind of a slugfest, but it was on the road. I understand it. McCord is still developing, but his development is what's going to be key. If he can get the ball to his receivers, that track team that makes anybody look good, that'll be crucial. If you're Ohio State, you do got to beat Michigan. You do got to beat Penn State. Maryland this weekend. I don't want to spoil our upset alerts for this week or anything, but 5-0 Maryland with Tua's younger brother Talia. That could be a good game. Maryland has always played them tough. But at 7, Ohio State. At 6, Washington. Look, this offense is sensational. Okay, Michael Penix, like we just talked about, is a top 5, top 3 quarterback in the country. He should be a first-round pick, at the bare minimum, a second-round pick, like Hendon Hooker style, in the draft. The
Without
receivers,
the
they have
injury, hopefully.
right, yeah, they have 2 top 10 receivers
Where is
in the
Hooker?
country.
Detroit?
What?
Where is Hooker?
Yeah,
Detroit?
he's in Detroit. You know who I'm talking about with these receivers, right? Odunze, and
Mm-hmm.
Michael and I talked about it last week. He said he doesn't even know if Marvin Harrison is the best receiver in the country anymore
Yeah,
because
he
of
was saying the guy in Washington.
yeah, Odunze. So I mean, Washington, you obviously have crazy good receivers. You got Penix, you've got a good coach. But what puts me at 6 is A, your resume. Like we said, you got stuck in a dogfight against Arizona. B, the pass defense is a little suspect. But you play Oregon. Is that this weekend they play Oregon? Or is it
Who?
next weekend?
Washington?
Yeah,
It's this week.
it is this week, right?
Sheesh, that's the game.
Because this isn't the Miami UNC week, is it?
No, that's next week.
Oh, maybe it's
We
next
play
week.
Georgia Tech in a night game where we're gonna blow them out this week.
Oh, really? Okay, so yeah, yeah, you're right. I
Oh
think the
no,
other game,
Oregon Washington's the
yeah,
14th, so they're
Oregon
both on
Washington is
bye
next
then.
week too.
Yeah, Washington's on bye. Excuse me.
Yeah, so I mean they're on bye this week, so we won't see them. But next week we'll see them play against Oregon. That'll be super telling for both teams.
That might be game day.
That's the oh, it has to be game day. That's the litmus test for both teams. It's going to be a game of the year contender. It's going to be a playoff decider. I mean, there's a lot riding on this game coming up soon. So for now, Washington at 6, at 5, Florida State. It hurt me to put them this low, out of the top 4. But here's what I can say: they have, if arguably, if not the best resume so far in this college football season, demolishing a ranked LSU, who was ranked 5 at the time. Let's not forget, and then beating Clemson in Clemson. Uh, it's always a respectable win, right? So they've got a great resume so far. Travis has looked good when he's been healthy. Keon Coleman, Johnny Williams, that receiving core is a whole top 5 receiving core. The running back room is amongst the top. We get transfers like Jaheim Bell, Fentrell Cypress, all playing great. I'm excited. And then we got to look at the schedule going forward. So we do have Duke. We'll see the health of Riley Leonard, what that determines for FSU in that game. If he's healthy, that's a really good game. And then we got a ranked Miami, um, which is in Florida State. So I'm not too worried about it. But of course, Ryan, you being the UM fan here, me and you always talk about that as it gets closer to that game week. And then, UF, it's like I'm torn on it because it's a rivalry game, but that team just looks so bad. And then,
There's no debate. Miami's look 10 times better than UF.
oh, 100%, yeah. And then, we'll see what happens in the ACC championship should we get there. Is it Miami rematch? Because the ACC is no more divisions. It's just the
Yep.
two best teams. So, I mean, my prediction would be a UNC game, but if UNC ends up or losing to
I tell
Miami,
you
it
who it
could,
won't be Clemson.
yeah, it won't be Clemson. It's either going to be a Miami. Realistically, it's either a Miami rematch
Or
or
Duke
UNC.
UNC.
I mean, I guess Duke is like an outsider, but we'll see what happens because they have one loss. They lose to FSU. That's 2.
I mean, Louisville's also 5
Louisville is
3-0 in conference.
they're 3-0 in conference and undefeated, but they do play Notre Dame this week, which who knows could be a decent
But
game.
that's
And it
not
adds.
technically a conference loss. Because
Mhm.
Notre Dame's with the ACC, but they're not in the ACC standing.
Yeah, exactly.
But they
So I don't
still
know.
have to play Duke. They still have to play Miami. They still have to play some ACC teams
I
that
don't
could.
think. I think FSU dodges them this year though,
Yeah, that you guys do.
because we played them last year and that game went bad. But right. So I mean, look, the ACC is going to be fun going the rest of the way. Louisville being ranked actually adds to Notre Dame's case for a playoff redemption come the end of the year. But hey, I'm high on FSU. If we win out, there's no reason they won't be in the playoffs. But for now, based on what I've seen, struggled a little bit against bad teams. I'll be the first to admit. That's why I keep them at 5. Now we get into the top 4, the playoff hopefuls. At 4, oh wait, whoops, wrong way. At 4, Michigan. Um, Look, this team just hasn't played anybody at all. I
And
mean,
they
played
haven't looked good against nobody.
exactly. This week against Nebraska is the first week they look good, but hey, Colorado looked good against
Nebraska's
Nebraska.
like the worst Power 5 team right now.
100%. I mean, they're
Out.
definitely up there. Jeff Sims might be the worst starting. He's not even starting anymore, I don't think. But when he was playing against Colorado, he's the worst starting quarterback in all of college football.
Do they
I mean,
even play a ranked team? They played 2 ranked teams this year, and it's in the last 3 weeks.
yeah, exactly. It's Penn State
They
and
play
Ohio State.
nobody. Yeah, they play
I
nobody the
don't
whole
think
way.
they don't play Wisconsin, if I'm mistaken, right?
Nope.
Do they even play Maryland?
They play them in between Penn State and Ohio State.
Okay, so that's a tough 3-game stretch then if Maryland just holds up.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the only part of their schedule where they play undefeated teams.
yeah, you dodge Wisconsin, you dodge Iowa. I think
Yep.
you're dodging all these teams in the Big Ten that are decent, and you haven't looked good against what you played, other than Nebraska, and everyone looks good against
And
them.
you're at Michigan State game this year. Michigan State fell apart after their coach
Exactly,
got
it was just
fired, so that's not
ridiculous.
even a game.
I mean, everyone's beating Michigan State.
Yeah.
Now I get to the top 3. Oregon is a lot higher than they are in the AP poll. This is probably my biggest change from the AP poll is that Oregon is as high as they are. I love this team. I've been a huge fan for a while of Bo Nix and Dan Lanning and everything they're doing up there outside of FSU. I only have a few teams that I kind of root for and I'm hopeful for when they're not doing good. But Oregon is certainly one of them. Bo Nix is great. Dan Lanning has done great. They've got weapons all over the place. I mean, the Taj kids are. I mean, they just got they got people everywhere. The defensive line, the offensive line are next level. This is like a real Pac-12 defense, right? Like historically, we look at the Pac-12 and we think it's all points and high-flying offense. This is a real legit defense that's going to do damage to whoever they play. And I'm really excited to see what they do. That Washington game, like we said, is going to be so telling. It's going to be a great game through and throughout. And they've got an interesting rest of the year, right? Like if we look at Oregon's schedule, I mean, it's the Pac-12, right? So it's kind of hard to like completely avoid playing good teams. But you play Washington, and then you play Washington State right after. And look, Washington State is a good team, okay? This is a really underrated team. Then when we do our under the radar picks, um, that's going to be right up there. Cam Ward is a great quarterback. They have a great offense. I love Washington State. I think they're going to do some real damage. And then you have a 3-game stretch, right? Like you got Washington, Washington State, and then Utah. Two of them on the road. Washington and Utah are both on the road. Those 3 tough games because Cam Rise is going to be back by then. And then you have California. Then you go at home against USC and at home against Oregon State, who's a good team too, okay? So, I mean, that is a rough schedule. The Pac-12 is going to be so fun to keep up with through the rest of the year. And if it serves as a gauntlet, it could open up the playoffs to a lot of teams. Would not be surprised if this is the first year we get a 2-loss team in the playoffs, just because of how good everyone is. But that's my 3. That's Oregon. Really love what they've got going on. Number 2, Georgia. I don't have them 1, okay? I'm one of the few people that's going to actually take them out of the 1. I've seen enough, okay? I can't anymore. I've seen enough to where I can say they're not number 1. I watched them struggle against Auburn and cost me a decent amount of bit on a bet, even though I took an alternate spread that was half of what the original was. So I've had it. I'm through. You have Brock Bowers and nobody else, it seems like. I mean, everyone on offense, or Lad McConkey is good, but Beck is still developing. I mean, look, you win 2 national championships in a row. It's going to be a bit of a hangover. I get it. But this is just ridiculous. You're playing nobodies and you're keeping them close. Auburn just kept it close. I know they're decent, but you should have won handedly. South Carolina kept it close and they've gotten blown out by everyone else. It's ridiculous that you play a ranked Kentucky team this weekend. And I won't speak for you, Ryan, but I know you have something to say about that game when we do some upset alerts later. So I've seen enough, all right? I mean, Carson Beck is not Stetson Bennett. And this defense is not what it was in 2021 and 2022, even if it comes along as the year goes on. So you don't have a resume and you don't pass the eye test. I'm keeping you here basically off of name recognition and
I
what
think
you've done
that's
the
the
last
same
2
with
years.
Michigan.
Yeah,
Why would Michigan be number 3
yeah.
if they didn't start the year up there?
Exactly. If they didn't start up there, they wouldn't be number 3. And Michigan has one of the best rosters in college football. They're just not playing up to their standards.
Yeah.
And to finish it off,
Colorado.
obviously you've seen everyone else. Number 1 is Colorado, of course. No, I'm just joking. Number 1 is Texas. Another amazing resume, amazing eye test. They've passed everything with flying colors. We were talking about them against Kansas, demolished a ranked Kansas, beat handedly a ranked Alabama at Alabama. Not many people can do that. This Oklahoma game this weekend will be super telling. So I'm really interested to see where that goes. But I mean, they got a great resume. You struggle a little bit against Wyoming, but that's okay. You redeemed yourself. Quinn Ewers, top 5-10 quarterback. Worthy, Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell. You have great receiving cores. You've replaced Bijan Robinson. Both your lines on both sides are amazing. I mean, Texas is back. Sark is proving himself more and more each week. So Texas is my number 1. Ryan, that's my top 10. What's your agreements, your disagreements? What do you think
I
overall?
just don't like Ohio State not being in the top 4. Now, I don't like Ohio State, but I mean, you can't discredit the win at the time at number 9 Notre Dame. I mean,
Mhm.
and they were already a 6th seed at that. So I mean, I feel like they shouldn't be as low as you had them, even if they're
Do
not
you
top
think flip them with
4.
Michigan, or do you think who would you replace? Who'd
I
you
mean,
replace
me
on the list?
personally, I'm not a fan of Michigan or Georgia right now.
Uh-huh.
Georgia at least has won the last 2, but I would put them over Michigan.
That's. I mean, look. It's fair. I think it's just like at the end of the day, it's me having a little more faith in JJ McCarthy and Blake Corum and that
Yeah,
Michigan
it's just
staff
like
than I
play
do in
going. We
Kyle
don't know
McCord.
what that team's going to be until the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, that's just for me right now. It's what it comes down to. Neither of them have looked really pretty in the eye test, so it's kind of who do I trust more. And right now, I just don't trust Kyle McCord yet. Was there anything else you had an issue with on the list, or is there any other teams you were surprised at? Or
I mean, you heard earlier, I said Texas #1 on the eye test.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they were to me too clearly. Um, yes. I mean that's been the debut of Sam Standings. We'll meet back next week and we'll see. I'm glad we agree for the most part. And hey, we'll see how Ohio State does. You know, they got Maryland this weekend. It's going to be a really telling game. If Kyle McCord goes out there and blows them out, then you know what? I'm going to rethink this list completely next week. So now that we're done with our little break, like we just talked about Notre Dame a bunch. We've got two more games and Georgia a bunch. We got two more games to talk about a little bit before we react to this week's AP poll. Ryan, Notre Dame and Duke. That was a great game that we were all sweating until the last minute. Duke pulls away 21-14 on a not last second, but last minute touchdown. What do you think of this game for Duke or for Notre Dame? Were you worried about them? Did this say more about Duke? Did this establish that Notre Dame can still compete for a playoff spot?
I think it said more about Duke, considering their big win was Clemson, who we clearly can tell isn't good.
Yeah.
They kept it close. So, I mean, I think it says more about Duke. Notre Dame, we know what they are. They took Ohio State to the brim. They took Duke to the brim. So
is that Is this what Notre Dame is though? Are they just a good team that can take teams to the brink of defeat and not
Notre
quite
Dame will
finish the
never
job?
win a championship with this roster. Notre Dame,
Yeah.
anytime they get to a championship game in the past 15, 20 years, what happens? They get blown out and embarrassed, and people turn the game off.
It's always right. Like I feel like the perfect word for it is fourth seed syndrome. Every year we saw it with Cincinnati when they were undefeated and they got gifted a Make-A-Wish playoff spot.
Yep.
With Oklahoma all those years when did USC slip in? No, USC didn't slip in, but when Oklahoma would always slip in, when it was Notre Dame, when it was Washington, and when it was Michigan State one year, whenever these teams slip in, it's fourth seed syndrome where they just get demolished because they didn't deserve to be there.
I agree. I don't want to see Notre Dame competing for a championship, wasting.
Yeah, and I thought they were different, really. I thought Sam Hartman was the guy who could come in and completely turn it around. And he's a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. They might need a few more pieces if they really want to compete. But hey, we look at their schedule the rest of the year. Ranked Louisville this week, right? Yeah, this week. Ranked USC, Clemson, and then they have one more. Let me check their last ranked.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, they have one because they have one more ranked game after.
Right now, ranked it's just Louisville and USC ranked. That's it.
Okay, and then you have Clemson.
Clemson, which was ranked.
Right. Yeah. So
at one point,
they got 2 games left really to prove what they've got going on, and who knows, right? Who knows what could happen? I think this is a good team. It's just, are you a great team, right? So, I mean, I'm like, yeah, you're right. No ranked teams after that, but you got Wake Forest, who's okay, I guess, but
this year they're not as good. Usually, Wake Forest has a strong defense.
Well, usually Wake Forest has Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
So he'll be playing his old team, but I'm interested. I'm really interested to see what they do. I still like them. I keep my eye on them. Duke, if Duke had won, I would have honestly come on here and said they were a dark horse playoff contender.
You can make that argument, but
they would have had Clemson wins and Notre Dame wins. You would still have a game against FSU and an ACC championship. They would have had every opportunity.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been theirs to lose.
So I mean but not quite.
Not anymore.
And we'll see what happens with Notre Dame. But to get to the other team that we were talking about being a little disappointing, number 1 Georgia. You just slipped by Auburn 27-20. I get it was at Auburn and they have a history of upsetting number 1 teams at home. But I mean, how concerned should these Bulldogs fans be?
They should be. They haven't looked good all year. It's every week it's the same thing. Spencer Rattler almost beat them.
Yeah, that was that was in Georgia too, not even in South Carolina.
That's what I'm saying. So it doesn't matter about being on the road or at home. They just haven't played good all year.
Do you think they make the playoffs?
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't? You don't think, even if you don't think they'll win out, I guess is what I'm saying.
But they don't really play anyone. That's the issue. They have
what do you got? Kentucky and then Tennessee?
Kentucky, Missouri, Ole Miss.
Well, let's not sleep on Missouri. Let's not just write off Missouri. They are undefeated and ranked right now, and they play LSU this weekend. So let's not go too crazy just yet on.
Yeah,
on
but come on,
I guess, but
Georgia.
I guess, but I mean, I'm really interested.
I'm hoping Kentucky beats them this week.
All right, we're getting a little upset alert preview.
Hey, that's what I'm rooting for.
I mean, I would be right there with you if I didn't pick Georgia to win the national championship. But yeah, I agree. I mean, look, you got like three tough games really on that schedule still. This game is going to be really telling, and we don't usually say that about a Kentucky game in the middle of the year against Georgia, but like this is really going to be telling. How do they handle another ranked opponent, a real opponent with a good run game, a capable quarterback, and a good coach? We'll see how they handle that, and it's going to tell a lot about whether this team can compete for that three-peat or not.
I agree.
Yeah, so with that being said, that is it for our games today. There wasn't too much going on last weekend, so we really just had the four. We'll move into our AP poll reactions as I pull that up here in a sec. But not too much movement, of course, because there wasn't like a crazy amount
Yeah, the
of
top seven didn't move.
yeah. I mean, the top seven didn't even move, so there's not too much to say. But if we take a look right here, we see the top seven didn't move. I think USC was the biggest drop, and
Yeah, they only dropped one in
yeah,
order.
and they dropped one. They just flip flop. Notre Dame went up one, so that was that was
One
the
thing
only
that's
movement.
interesting, point wise, Texas was only 10 points under Michigan. I think they're getting ready to, especially after this
Oh,
week.
you have to
If
be after this
Texas
week.
wins,
Texas could be the number one team if Georgia plays bad.
yeah, but I think I don't. Like I said, I don't think the voters. It's like the Bama. Bama will always get the vote, so I think they'll move to two if they win.
I do too. I guess they won't really overtake Georgia, but yeah, they should definitely overtake Michigan with a convincing win
Yeah,
this week. Is Michigan's
any
on
win,
bye? We
not even
said
convincing.
right?
Any win.
Yeah, I think Michigan's on bye. So, oh no, they play Minnesota. Sorry, but I mean, come on. Like
So they're
if
on bye. Okay.
yeah, exactly. If Texas wins, this shouldn't be even a debate. I guess in the teens is kind of where we see a lot of the movement. At the bottom, we see Fresno State creep up a little bit. Louisville's now ranked. LSU plummets. Florida obviously gets booted. So we see a lot of movement at the bottom. Ryan, what was your reaction to the AP poll as a whole? Do you see anything blatant that sticks out to you? Is there stuff that you really like? What's kind of your reaction
Nothing
to this
crazy
AP
this
poll?
week. Remember, a lot of teams were
Dormant.
not. They
If
weren't
we look
playing.
down here, Maryland and Kansas also getting a lot of votes to be ranked. Maryland just barely missing
Maryland
out
should
on
be.
that
They're
20.
5-0.
Yeah.
Maryland should be ranked over 3-2 LSU.
The fact that Clemson's getting 5 votes
Disgusting.
as a 2-2 team is crazy.
It's disgusting.
Or are they 3-2 now? But whatever. I mean,
They're
and
not good.
Colorado getting decimated and then getting a vote is also ridiculous.
Dude, that's just the hype train, bro.
But I mean, yeah. So if we see anything down here, is it like I don't think there's anything that you
Me
disagree
personally, I
with.
don't
Is
think
there
there's
really
anything
anything
wrong with it.
crazy?
I mean, Kentucky deserves to be ranked.
Yeah.
Louisville deserves to be ranked. I do think Maryland deserves to be ranked over maybe LSU. I mean,
Yeah, I could
LSU's
see
the only
that
three and
really.
two team in the whole rankings.
Yeah, they just give them credit for having two good losses, but like I don't know how much credit should you really get for that.
That's what, like, at the end of the day, it's still a poll of the best teams. I'm
Yeah,
excited for next week, Miami UNC. That should
it's
be
gonna be a great game. Cause
two top, probably 16 or 15 teams.
I don't know, I
If
don't think Miami's
If
gonna
Oklahoma
move.
loses, they're going to drop past
Yeah,
them.
okay, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
And
you're right.
then if anyone else in the top 16 loses, then it would be two top 15 teams.
Yeah, you're right. So that's true. I mean, that's gonna be a great game. It's gonna be really telling for Miami. I'm gonna learn a lot because
Like, what
you're
are
going
we?
to Chapel Hill. You're not going to the
Yeah,
Hard Rock. You're going to Chapel Hill.
I'll say what we are. So,
Yeah, exactly. Because remember, I mean, look, the Texas A&M win was certainly a good win. I'm not discrediting that by any means, but it was at home, and I'm not a big fan of Texas A&M as a whole. I'm definitely not a fan of their quarterback. This is the top five quarterback in the country coming in. You're
you know
going to
what's
his house.
crazy? And I was telling you about this game this week.
Yeah,
Alabama's only a 1.5 point favorite at Texas A&M.
yeah, which is kind of weird to me because it feels like Alabama's really gaining their stride. It seems like Milrow's developing a bit on the fly, so I feel like that game is not going to be that
Yeah, but
close.
also A&M. I mean, their defense been locked down since the Miami game.
Yeah, since they give up 50, so I mean, we'll see.
I mean, they
I,
only gave up 10 to Auburn, who almost beat Georgia.
yeah, but I mean, look at Auburn's quarterback. I'm not a fan of that offense
No,
at all.
no. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I really don't see anything I blatantly disagree with. I really like Washington State, and they did move up, so I mean, it's deserving. I think we'll see them jump even higher after this weekend because I assume Oklahoma is going to lose. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone in the top like 10 or 12 is going to lose other than them, other than Oklahoma, of course. So I don't think they'll get to jump up that far, but I think they'll keep creeping up, and I think they're going to slip pretty high. Um, Other than that, I like that Oregon State has moved up and they're staying steady and that we've acknowledged the loss to Utah wasn't anything crazy. Utah not dropping too far after a loss. We got to recognize that that's a third string quarterback. I mean, the only thing I'd really say is I feel like that's like a huge leap for Kentucky to take all the way up to 20 from unranked. I know they demolished Florida and they are 5-0, but I don't know. I might flip them with Missouri. I really like what Missouri's been doing, but nonetheless, pretty solid rankings this week.
We'll have
Alabama's
a
a
lot more
little
next
high.
week when everyone's back to playing and
Yeah, yeah. My Alabama's a little high. I just don't know anybody I'd flip them with, because Oklahoma hasn't played anybody. North
no.
Carolina hasn't really played anybody. So it's like, am I flipping them with Washington State, who beat Oregon State? Maybe. I might. I could
But the
maybe do that if I
voters
want to
won't.
get really
The
bold.
voters won't. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
the voters just won't. So we'll see. I mean, look, Washington State is just they're that team. Cam Ward is that guy. I said this with Oregon State last year, and I still say it about Oregon State because I really like them. Washington State too is really underrated, and they're coming for I'm gonna say the Pac-12 championship for now.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I don't see anything too crazy here. Rankings look pretty good to me. And we'll see how the top plays out. I think you're right. I think Texas is ready to make that move up to number 2, maybe number 1. Who knows? Anything you want to add before we get to our pick'em?
No, I agree. I think next week we'll have a lot more to discuss about the AP poll because I think there'll be a lot of changes up and down.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And now for our pick'em, if we look back at week 4, um, we didn't really like. Of course, we didn't go through and pick every game. We just kind of did what we thought was interesting. The under the radar teams. Ryan, you said it was Oregon and LSU. LSU kind of took a big hit. I don't know
Yeah.
how under the radar they are anymore. But Oregon looks great.
I just said they should be ranked.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you called Oregon though, and I said North Carolina and FSU. FSU is obviously dormant. North Carolina didn't impress. Michael, who's not on today, he said Alabama and Oklahoma. Both of those look, fair still.
both will have telling games this week. A one and
Exactly.
a half point favorite at A&M, and then playing Texas, who we think's the best team in the country.
But upset alert is always where we're gonna draw our eyes to as far as what really matters. I said Notre Dame and UF. I was right at least on the alert for both of them, but only one of them came to fruition. UF got their butt kicked. I mean, that was 208 rushing yards to the
When are they going
running
to fire
one
that
running
coach,
back. To
bro?
one running back.
When are they going to fire that coach? He sucks. Napier.
They'll probably give him one more year. 'Cause I think this is
Hey,
only year 2.
I'm fine with it. You saw
I
that
mean, yeah.
schedule they have next year?
No, I know. We'll talk about that at a different time because I need Michael to like give his thoughts on
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, yeah.
But I
And
mean,
cope.
man, I
He's
mean
gonna cope and say, "Oh no, we're winning
that has 5-7 at best written all over it.
next year."
Maybe 4-8. Who
You
knows?
see 5 wins? No,
Well, I see a couple. I see like this the like, gimme games that they always get, and
they
then I
have
see like
two.
a
They have two
UCF and
gimmies. That's it.
yeah. We'll see. I mean, I might go to that UCF game because I think it's at the bounce house. So we'll see. First year is like you get a whole year in the Big 12 system, and I hope Plumlee stays because that guy is really fascinating to watch.
Yeah,
But I mean, that should be a decent game, and then I know you're gonna go to the Miami game, so
yeah. I
that should be.
gotta figure
We'll
out.
talk about that a different day. But UF got destroyed. I said Notre Dame. It was close, but not quite. Ryan, you picked them as your under the radar, and then you said they were on upset alert, and you were right. They did get
I was
upset.
right though. I'm an honest man, and I know when it's coming.
And then Michael said Oregon State and A&M, and they both won. Oregon State wasn't really on upset alert because Utah's third string quarterback is just not that guy. Um, and A&M played it close, for whatever it was worth. They lost their quarterback, which sucks. But Michael goes a little 0 for 2 this week. As far as this week goes, Ryan, have your under the radar teams changed? Like, do you have any? Has anyone emerged to you as a possible under
Not
the radar
LSU.
contender?
Not
Yeah,
LSU. But
not LSU.
I'll keep Oregon. I'll keep Oregon.
Are you gonna add someone to that? Has anyone else stood out to you at all?
Not really. I think I'll have more to say this upcoming week because no
Yeah,
one really
true.
played last week, so nothing's really, you know.
Yeah, well, I
I'm
mean,
gonna stay with
for my,
Oregon.
I'm gonna add to my under the radar. I've been talking all episode about him. I'm putting Washington State in there. I'm finally getting the confidence to go all the way and say Washington State
Well,
is an
either
under
your
the
team or
radar.
my team's gonna survive. So
Right.
after
So I
next
mean,
week,
we'll see. I mean, I like Washington State a lot. I'm gonna say that they're an under the radar for the Pac-12 championship And who knows? I don't want to throw that P word out there just yet, but they might be coming. And then Michael's sticking with his guys. I mean, he's not here to obviously defend it, but me and him have been in communication. But that brings us to upset alert, and I'll share my screen so that we can see some of the games we got this week because we have a decent slate coming up for week 6. Right, yeah, that's what we're in now, week 6. So,
Yes, sir.
so we got Oklahoma, Texas, Red River rivalry. Gonna be a great game. I'll certainly be tuning into that. That's a 12 too. I'm surprised it's on 12. I mean, what do you think? You think it's weird that that's on 12?
Dude, those SEC, well, they're not SEC yet, but like those like Big 12, like Texas
Yeah.
games are always at 12, even though they're like the big games. I don't
Yeah,
get it.
it's weird. And then Maryland, Ohio State's going to be a good game. LSU, Missouri should be a good game. Washington State, UCLA could be a decent game. And then we look down here like Bama, Texas A&M could be decent. Kentucky, Georgia, I think a lot of people aren't suspecting it, but I think it's going to be better than people think. Notre Dame, Louisville should be good. And that's probably it for this slate. Who knows? Maybe USC and Arizona turns out being better than we expect. But Ryan, who's on upset alert this week? Give me 2 or 3 teams that you think are on upset alert.
Bama, Georgia, and then Bama, Georgia, Texas.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're going all the way to throw Texas on there too. I mean, I agree. I don't think Texas is on upset alert. Obviously, you're playing the 12th best team in the country according to the AP poll.
But
You're
remember,
gonna
it's
be
a
on some,
rivalry game. It's like
yeah,
division games
yeah.
in the NFL. You never know.
You're gonna be on some sort of upset alert. But look, at the end of the day, Texas is by far the better roster, the better coach. You won 49-0 last year, and I know Dylan Gabriel didn't play, but Dylan Gabriel isn't the difference between 49 points
Yeah,
and,
he's
and a
not.
victory. So I still think Texas is going to win pretty handily. But of course, anytime you get 2 top 15 teams playing, it's going to be a good game. So I agree with you there. Um, Bama is interesting just because we know it's Texas A&M, and they are in Texas A&M. It's at College Station. So it's interesting. And I like all your picks, really, because I think Georgia could be unsuspectingly on upset alert. So not bad picks at all. For me, I'm going to put Ohio State. Because Maryland, Talia, I mean, they air the ball out, and that's where Ohio State's been a little interesting. That line is 20 points. I think that's a little bit much. I know it's in Ohio State, so we'll see how they play on the road. But look, at the end of the day, I mean, we see here, you can see it on my screen. Talia's thrown for almost 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns already. Their running back, he's got over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, this is a good offense. The defense is suspect. We'll see what happens with that. But I think that Ohio State could potentially be on upset alert. And I'm not gonna take any of your picks, so I won't say anything too crazy. But I mean, it's hard because you did take a lot of the good ones. I guess I'll say
Dude,
like Notre
I
Dame.
kept hitting at those earlier, like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say Notre Dame at home. Playing against Louisville. That's a ranked team. Louisville's look good. They're 5-0. All that good stuff. It is in Louisville, so we'll see. Louisville does have one of the better receivers in the country in Thrash. You can see on my screen again, 444 yards, 5 touchdowns on not a crazy amount of receptions. So the guy can play. So that should be a good game. And then we look at there's some other decent games on here. Syracuse, North Carolina could be pretty decent. Syracuse did get blown out. They're a fraudulent 4-1, but who knows? Florida State's blowing out Virginia Tech. UCLA, I hate that their UCLA's offense has been as slow as it is. The fact that they're favored -3, I gotta check into this. Someone has to be injured because UCLA's offense has been disastrous.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Does it count as an upset alert if I pick Washington State because they're not favored?
I don't think it's an upset alert.
I mean, I don't think so either. But
It would be a
wow,
ranked team losing to a unranked team.
this is taking me by surprise. 66% chance. Something has to be wrong here. I mean, look how bad they lost. They lost to Utah 14-7, and both of Utah's touchdowns were defensive. That's how bad that was. What are we missing?
What's going on for Washington State that's causing that?
Yeah, I mean, Dante Moore's throwing or right at 50% of his passes, not even 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. And I like Dante Moore. Don't get me wrong. The guy's a true freshman, so he's balling. But what is going on?
They know something. Vegas knows something we don't. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, I'm gonna like impromptu search that. It's taking me by so surprise. Washington State versus UCLA injury report. It's someone has to be out for Washington State because I mean, wow, that is crazy. Um, they'll be without wide receiver Lincoln Victor, so I guess that is their leading receiver. So maybe that's why. But wow, I mean, we look at the stats right here: 533 total yards to 456. They're 200 yards above in passing almost. Not as much rushing, but it's an air attack for Washington State. We can kind of tell, based off of
Yeah.
watching them. The defense for UCLA is better for sure. That's surprising, man. Wow. I'm surprised, really. But all right, well, that'll be a great game to watch, and I'll make sure to tune into that.
Yeah, no, they know something we don't.
They have to for that to be that blatant. But I mean that's my upset alert. Really, I mean, and I don't have much else to say. Like you said, kind of a slow weekend yet. We've already been talking for so long, so I mean, we can kind of wrap up on that, honestly. Ryan, is there anything else you want to say before we finish this off?
Honestly, Miami's gonna blow out Georgia Tech. I noted that I cannot wait for that North Carolina game. Um, Florida got embarrassed. Just have to put it out there. I know we
Yeah,
didn't have
Gators got
a
drowned in the
session about
swamp.
it. What the guy had like 250 rushing yards.
Yeah,
Like,
it was crazy.
yeah. So we'll see how it goes this week, man. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, whew, that's crazy. I actually cannot believe that. Yeah, Gators get drowned in the swamp. FSU, I'm excited to see him back in action. We're gonna remind everybody just how deadly we are on offense. A lot of upset alerts. Kentucky, Georgia should be good. And man, next week is resembling week 3. I'm really excited for all the matchups we've got next week. With that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in. Like I said in the beginning, remember to like, subscribe, comment what you want to see more of, turn those notifications on. Thank you so much as always for tuning in. Thank you, Ryan, as always, for being here. And until next time, we will see you guys next week. Everybody, have a good one.